Hi everyone, Journal 84 today, a new one. Last week I told this story, we were doing this, I was just chatting, and I told this story about a Renaissance fair, selling my book there, The Crown and the Caged God. Marie and I had a booth and we were selling it. And I didn't have a sales pitch when the thing began, but as I talked to more and more people came up to buy the book and asked me what it was about, I gradually developed my sales pitch. And last week I said I would reveal what it was today. And so I will. I'll reveal that and my log line. So the sales pitch and the log line. I'm not really good at log lines. It's an art. That's very much an art form, the log line. It's not one I care about enough to really practice that craft in the way that, like, I don't care really about hockey, but, I can admire the Wayne Gretzkys of the world. And there are people who can do these log lines that are so impressive. It's just not really an art form that I care to practice too much, so I'm not that good at it. But I've discussed the best one ever before in Journal 27, not the journal itself, but there's some associated correspondence. If you pull up the PDF, there's a link in it, and there's this conversation I had with a friend of mine, and we talked about the best log line of all time, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito are twins. Obviously, that's the log line for the movie Twins, but it's so efficient, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito are twins. 7 words, right? The power to weight ratio there is hard to overstate. I mean, that hook in 7 words, how do you compete with that, right? I don't, obviously. I'm bad at log lines. But recently, every 5 years or something like that, I watched this movie, The Never-Ending Story, and on the back, it actually has a little description of the movie. But when Marie and I watch movies, we'll come up with our own little log lines for things. It's fun. But mine for this, it's not good. I talk about weird things that don't really, it's not a hook and it doesn't really describe it. It's my log line for this. I'm actually interested in what yours would be. If you're my age and you know what this movie is, or if you're not my age and for some other reason you just happen to know what this movie is, pause what I'm saying so mine doesn't bias you and type your log line. I'd be curious to read what yours is, how we all see, 1 to 2 sentence summary or sales pitch what this movie is, or how it could be impactful, or just how it could entice you to watch it. But mine would be something like this. A young boy must cross 2 gates, right, and the 4th wall, mostly atop a poodle dragon, to name an empress, so the nothingness doesn't consume everythingness. It's not really pithy, it's not really effective. And so I'm just not really good at log lines. Again, I focus on weird things. But getting into my own book and how I would sell mine, how I'd pitch mine, the Amazon page has a different description that I wasn't saying at the Renaissance Fair. And it's this. Here's a look at the Amazon page. Modern fantasy often takes us on a coming-of-age journey in a magical world that has a magical school in it. The Crown and the Caged God takes us on a slightly different journey. While there is a university, it is a much more realistic institution. The author is a tenured professor in real life, and his handling of fantasy academia serves as a behind-the-scenes portrayal of real academia. The Crown and the Caged God also lacks traditional magic. Rather, it asks the natural sciences what magic exists at the fringes of physiological possibility. Those fringes populate a fantasy world in which a mysterious creature is mysteriously attacking. Lastly, The Crown and the Caged God is not a coming-of-age tale. Well, not a first coming of age anyway. Perhaps it's a second coming of age story for imaginative readers whose first age came a while ago, but an appetite for adventure still remains. The first book in this series is A Time for Wrath. This is part 1. Okay, so that was the Amazon description. Let's get into the journal and I'll talk about the actual Renaissance Fair, and we've had my sales pitch there. Journal 84, Saturday, August 31st, 2024, the has-been who will be again. Hi, everyone. What's it about? I'm asked by a pirate, then a peasant, and then a plague doctor. Each of them is holding my book when they ask and speaking in character. It's fantasy for adults, I respond. Not in character, but I'm sort of dressed like a medieval merchant. A quarter of the Vikings, witches, and tavern wenches have heard enough. They're ready to buy it. But I don't think you'll like it, I finish when I see interest in their expression. It's the other knights, fairies, and sorcerers who might actually appreciate my book, those whose faces begin assembling the features of disapproval upon hearing the word adult. As if to say, Game of Thrones was a little too explicit for me. These are my readers, so I offer my pitch. I don't mean George R.R. Martin's definition, pointless salaciousness, gratuitous violence, and too often a pairing of the two. The kind of book where every page has at least an R rating, if not some further letter in the alphabet. Martin rebranded the word adult to mean excesses of excess, but that's not my definition. The content in my book is PG-13 at its worst, but there's a difference between the age of appropriateness and the age of appreciation. I mean, what 13-year-old is going to connect with a 36-year-old has-been who gripes about his back pain? With that, I see the disapproval abandon their expressions, and as it leaves, it puts their faces back how it found them, with curiosity restored. So, what's it about? They ask again. Now I deploy my logline. A guy just wants an omelet, but along the way he's swept up on a second coming of age adventure. Ooh, I like that, a second coming of age. When I hear a bard, alchemist, or elven druid say that, I know I've found a reader. So I elaborate. For people in their PG years, the world shelves are full of those stories. There's a massive cast of protagonists that young readers can grow up with, journey with, discover with, and change with. These are some of the most meaningful friendships kids have, but those characters are all arrested in time while the readers keep aging and aging and aging until eventually hanging out with teenagers is no longer enjoyable. We grow out of those relationships, but we don't stop growing at that point, or journeying, or discovering, or changing. Life goes on, and its biggest changes and challenges still lie ahead. We just undertake them without the camaraderie of a literary companion, because there's a shortage of companions our age. That's what The Crown and the Caged God offers, a vast fantasy world populated by empathetic characters you can spend time with whenever you open the cover. And as you go journeying together, you'll encounter a treasure trove of mysteries, such as what is the crown, and who is the caged god, and what is the protagonist's name? Okay, you sold me. Thanks! I hope you enjoy the rest of the Renaissance Fair. By the way, I love your satyr legs. Okay, that was my sales pitch. And obviously the title, The Has-Been Who Will Be Again, that's a reference to T.H. White, the once and future king, right? Except this is like the peasant's equivalent. It's Arthur for us common folk, so that's the, I guess, obvious reference and subtle, like self-aggrandizing implication of it. But that's all. That's everything I have to say. I hope your life is just beautifully complex, and so beautiful and complex that it can't be reduced to a log line. That's what I hope. I'll see you next time.